Hey everyone, welcome to another review of, we're doing Neon Genesis Evangelion today. Today we're doing episode 16. Once again, we'll do it just like the TV show does it, where we'll cut it in two halves. The first episode, or the first part of episode 16, is called Sickness Unto Death End. Episode 16 is kind of strange. While it does have an angel in it, it's kind of interesting that the fact that we're moving into... We've already reached the halfway point. We have the characters introduced. And this series is very irregular with that because we're introduced to characters, but we don't get their backstory until like episodes later. While we've already been introduced to Masato back in, I believe, episode 6, this is where you see her breaking point and her character starts to come about. The reason is, during the previous couple battles, Shinji has either been the protector, i.e. when they killed the angel that was coming from the sky, when they had to kill the first angel, where all three of them had to work together, he was the one who shot him. So her ego is being slowly deteriorated by the fact that she might find out that there is someone better than her at this gig. So she starts the episode complaining. There's a scene with her and Ray where once again she's angry that she's not the center of attention, she's not the focal point. And once again, this is all an ego thing for her, so it becomes really intrusive to her, and her whole support system starts to crumble around her. This is, her getting to where she ends up by the end of the series. We are also introduced to a new angel who looks like this. So we're introduced to the 12th angel, who is a very weird creature. Basically what it is, it's a dark shadow on the floor, and its physical representation is, as you saw in the picture, big circular creature with white and blue patches, white and black patches all around it. It eventually, the supposed real part of it, which is its shadow, ends up sucking up Shinji and Unit 1 into it, while the other angels are kind of helpless against it. They call the black part of it the Deroxy, and that's kind of what this episode is. The characters are trying to figure out how to defeat this angel and things like that. But yeah, this is definitely a Shinji heavy episode, and all this is happening once again when Gendo Ikari is gone. This time we don't really get where he's at. The first part of this episode ends really with a conversation with Ray and Asuka, where Asuka's obviously pissed off, and she blames Shinji, of course, for taking the lead, which he did. And he all did it because Masato congratulated him earlier in the episode. And of course, any congratulation to anyone not named Asuka pisses off Asuka. So, and it's left with a bunch of characters waiting around to see where do we go from here, because, Shinji's captured and they don't know what's going to happen. So, that's the first part. Second part, splitting of the breasts. Alright, the splitting of the breast is the second part of episode 16. Now Shinji's trapped in the 12th angel, and he's been there for quite a while now. His life support systems are dwindling. He has a moment where either he starts to lose his mind, or he starts to finally connect with whatever soul is inside of Unit 1. There's an extensive scene in this episode where it's going to be very reminiscent of it's going to be a precursor of what's to come. Because he has a moment in this episode where he gets existential and he's literally talking to himself. That's going to be a big thing, especially coming in later episodes, especially the last 2 episodes. We'll get there when we get there. And those in this episode, it's really a precursor, in all honesty, because he's literally having a conversation with a self of him. This is a lot like the last episode, in episode 15, where Rey had a similar conversation where she was speaking to her other self. Without getting too psychological into this is literally the ego talking to the sub-ego and stuff like that, or the consciousness talking to the subconsciousness. Do with that what you will. A lot of people have in this series. So we find out that Shinji has hours. It changes back and forth because we're literally in between Shinji being stuck in the Dark Sea in the 12th Angel, and Masato and Ritsuko having a conversation how they're going to save him. This does bring up a problem, though. In this episode does bring up a problem in the series, or in the continuity of how things go, because Ritsuko has a plan. Masato disagrees with the plan, but somehow Ritsuko takes over. Now, you might harken back to an earlier episode, the episode where they had to catch the angel from the sky. I believe the eighth angel, and Masato somehow outranked her. And in this episode, Ritsuko outranks her, despite the fact that Ritsuko was never told, or the audience was never told, that Ritsuko was promoted. That's a big problem, especially in the continuity of the show. But I brought it to attention, so let's move on from there. Ritsuko tries to act upon what she thinks is the right method to get Shinji out. And also she reminds Masato that the goal is not necessarily to save the pilot, but to save the unit. Yeah. So, right before everything goes down, Shinji feels like he's dying inside the unit, and he gets to meet someone, but we don't quite know who. And the episode concludes with, listen, we know this is going 26th episode, and Shinji Ikari is not the main character, so there's no need to be worried about spoilers. Unit 1, through some act of miracle, survives the 12th angel, and everyone is either horrified by the way he looks, the visual of him breaking out of the angel, which is kind of interesting considering the dynamics and what we were told of how the angel was made up. But that's kind of it. And then we have an interesting conversation between Ritsuko and Gendo, who finally shows up, I guess, and they start to question Masato and about how much she actually knows or doesn't know. And the episode kind of ends with Shinji being in where Shinji is in a lot of these episodes, in an unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling. That's it for this episode. Next episode, The Fourth Child, episode 17. Promise to be lots of fan service. Certainly not from me. But that's it. I mentioned this before in my previous episode. Jeff has his own channel where he's doing Sonic reviews. I'm going to try to drop a link down in the description below. If you like video game reviews, if you like that stuff, it's there for you. Until next time, later people.